Where is the best NFL landing spot for Arizona State star running back Cam Skattebo? We're going to answer that and give you a full breakdown of the Sun Devils playmaker, Bo Brock, PHNX Cardinals, Eric Ruby, PHNX Sun Devils. He knows a little bit about Scat's game, followed him all the way to the Peach Bowl and beyond. And of course, we're going to get some insights from our guy, Fran Duffy, our all-city NFL analyst, NFL draft analyst. But as we break this down, Ruby, we've come a long way since the Peach Bowl. I think it kind of hit a fever pitch there with Scat. Some people were like, okay, this is firmly a second-round pick, and now like the pre-draft has moved him down. There's been some running backs that have emerged, right? You got Ashton Genty there. You got Omarion Hampton. I think you got the duo from Ohio State. Where do you kind of view Cam Skattebo as far as this deep class?
I mean, it's a hell of a running back class. Right. I think that's first thing first. I think if it was the last couple of years, I think Cam Skattebo would be much higher. And I think a lot of people are going to have their doubts about some things with Cam Skattebo. And there are doubts that I would say I understand, but I wouldn't fully agree with them limiting him at an NFL level. I wouldn't be shocked if somebody reaches for him in the second round. I'm thinking third round pick is going to be where he settles in and where I think a team feels comfortable drafting him. But we've seen teams like, the Lions who find their guy and they're like, you know what? We just found somebody that we feel comfortable plugging into our system. Yeah. Let's grab him before anybody else even has a chance to do it. So end of the second round, I wouldn't be floored. I'd be pretty excited for him. Anything past the third round, maybe top of the fourth, I think you're talking about an egregious miss from all the teams who passed on him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably where you and your co-host Totri are going to be kind of at the edge of your seat. Like if he's on the board come day 3, or I'm sorry, late day 2 into day 3, it could be at any moment, right?
Absolutely.
You're to see him go off the board. But then like you start to get into this, right? This is a guy that in his private workout in Tempe, the Dickey Dome down the street from here, runs a 4.65 40. Not exactly a burner. It's if it was with the combine results, he's a guy that's going to be at the bottom of his position group. But where people say is like, hey, it's not about, straight line speed, especially with Scat. Look at the productivity. You got all the cliches. Football player. Where's he going to fit? Right? And it's like he's a walking cliche, but at the same time, he is that player. What is your response, though, to the people that don't like maybe his burst, they're concerned about the lack of speed in the 40 time and that it doesn't match up with some of these other prospects?
I think you should watch the tape. Okay. I think you should watch him play football. And I think you should also understand, and I kind of wanted to start with this with Cam, is you can go and you can look at this past season and that entire body of work and walk away extremely impressed. But when you look at the summer beforehand and what this guy did to change his game, coming off of Arizona State's 3-9 season, him having to do everything from punting to throwing to obviously running. He'll play special teams for you. He'll do whatever you want, right? But what he did over the summer was he slimmed down. He got more lean and he actually increased his burst, increased his speed without losing any of his power. And what I think a lot of people underrate about Cam Skattebo is that from when he was in high school with basically no real offers to Sacramento State, to transferring to Arizona State, to 3-9, to top 5 Heisman, is that he has put in the work to become a better athlete and he has continued to ascend on that level. So I fully expect over this offseason of work and when he gets to the NFL, him to become marginally slightly faster. But the main thing that you want with Scat is that he just makes plays. And I know you said he's a walking cliche, but he's a walking cliche for a reason. Right. Think about, let's say when he played a Utah team and he iced the game with some of the most incredible runs I've ever seen, where he's knocked so off balance that he's one leg off the ground, one hand on the ground, and he still runs it in for 6. Right? There are just certain guys who make things happen on the field. He has enough speed to make that happen, and I think he has enough of everything else and is versatile enough that he'll be able to fit in just fine with that speed in the NFL.
We'll predict where we think Scat should go in the NFL level, like where he would be the best fit. But you get the local insight. Let's get some national perspective. How about our all-city draft analyst, Fran Duffy's breakdown of Scat?
All right, let's take a look at, honestly, everybody's favorite mid-round running back draft prospect. That's Cam Skattebo from Arizona State, a transfer from Sacramento State a couple years ago, joined the Sun Devils in 2023, was a finalist for the Paul Hornung Award as the most versatile player in college football because of everything this guy did. I mean, you're talking running the ball, catching the ball, throwing the ball, punting the ball. He did everything back in 2023. Then he goes to 2024, his second year with the Sun Devils, and he was one of the most productive runners in the nation. And again, his ability to be that multifaceted player, that do everything kind of weapon for an offense, that will serve him well moving into the NFL. A lot of versatile play callers will be able to look at him and say, yeah, I can envision a role. Everybody wants a player like Skattebo in their offense. But what is the ceiling? What are we talking about here? Well, to me, his superpower, his competitiveness, and his play strength. He has got such a strong core, and defenders are constantly bouncing off him. He's got one of the highest forced missed tackle rates of any running back drafted in the last decade. He's constantly able to create yardage for himself in the box. And that's he's got a lot of dirty yardage, a lot of hidden yardage with Skattebo on film. Now, he's not going to be a breakaway back. He's not going to be a guy that's going to break off those long chunk plays in the NFL. That's going to be the big question. I always go back to, you look at a guy's recruiting pedigree. He was a 0-star recruit, coming out of high school for a reason. He was underlooked, undervalued. He goes to Sacramento State, shines there, transfers up. You could see some of those physical limitations there with him on film. He's not going to be, again, that guy that's going to create those big plays on a consistent basis in the NFL. That said, I love his vision and decisiveness downhill. I love his ability to be a goal line short yardage back. I love his play strength. I love his demeanor. He's great at the catch point. I think you can do a lot of creative things with him in the pass game. He can be a matchup guy. And again, he's just so natural finishing on the football in all areas of the field. Arizona State did some really fun things with him as the season went on. So I think when you're looking at Skattebo, probably profiles more as a change of pace type of option. Some teams, that might be more of a change of pace. He might be more of a consistent factor in the run game than others. But I think when you're looking at him, it's very easy to kind of project him forward into the NFL. Feel really good about the floor. You question about the ceiling, but there's no question this guy, he's going to find a role in an NFL backfield. Now it's just about trying to pair him with the right team. The big thing, I would say the other big knock, over 800 touches, that's gonna concern you in terms of just the overall wear and tear. What's the long-term viability there? But if anybody is gonna be able to play through that, I think it's gonna be Cam Skattebo. He's been one of my favorite players to study at the position. What is he gonna be now in the NFL?
Great stuff there from Fran Duffy. And as he said, all 32 NFL fan bases want a Scat on their team. They watch that performance maybe in the Big 12 championship game or in the Peach Bowl, or they checked out any Sun Devil game the last 2 seasons or even before that. I mean, this is a guy that's easy to root for. What fan base is going to benefit from watching this guy next year? What stands out to you?
It's funny because I have like 2 different thoughts of my brain in this. It's like, what jersey and what city matches like Cam Skattebo's mindset? To me, like Pittsburgh comes up with that, where it's like, this is just going to be a grinder. They're just going to give him the ball and he's just going to make something happen. I think, interestingly, the Chicago Bears. Yeah. And I like the renaissance that they're hopefully going to be looking with their new head coach on offense. And I think, and Kenny was talking about this in ASU's most recent spring practices, that Cam can do anything for you. And I think the most underrated thing about him is his pass catching ability, not just pure numbers wise, because he had 605 receiving yards, over 13 yards per reception, 3 touchdowns. It's how he got those. We're talking mid-air body control, meet the ball at the high point, turning around last second and snagging it. That's instincts, that's athleticism, and that's great soft hands that can make a snag. And when you have a type of guy that you can line up on the outside, that you can hand on the inside, that you can put in the wild scat, as we called it, or you can even have some trick plays. I know you're not going to be relying on this a lot, especially after what happened with Detroit when they had a position player throw a ball last year. But Chicago, when you talk about you don't know what's going to happen when this guy's on the field if you're a defense. He's like the ultimate chess piece. And so anybody that has an advanced offensive mind, and I know that might make some Cardinals fans a little upset because I know they've had some problems with Drew Petzing, but even when you use him in a basic sense, he's going to be able to produce for you. But the best thing for Cam Skattebo would be to go into a diverse offensive scheme. And I feel like a Chicago team that's going to need a little bit of running, a little bit of receiving help with Caleb Williams, I think Scat would be a great fit there.
If you want the best for Cam Skattebo, especially early on in his career, I don't know if the Arizona Cardinals have the ability to offer him that, right?
I agree. It's a crowded room.
Yeah, they've got a crowded room. They've got some really talented ball carriers, from James Conner to Trey Benson, who they used the 66 overall pick on in last year's draft. because of all the things that you mentioned, the versatility, the gadget play, he's going to embrace a role on special teams. I think if the Cardinals were to take him, I'm looking at like round 4.
If he slides.
I
don't think that they would reach it all, especially with how Monty drafts.
Exactly, right. But like I always think, what's his role on game day? He is a guy that can play any role for you. So like I'm all for that with, it being a day 3 pick.
Yeah.
As far as where, I thought you mentioned some good places there. I think Denver would be a decent landing spot for him.
Kansas City's scary.
Like San Francisco is like the ultimate spot. Like because you've got, we'll see what happens with Christian McCaffrey, but like he can go in there. You've got a veteran running back in place, and you can get him up to NFL speed.
And the stats that Scat put up in college haven't been done since Christian McCaffrey.
Since Christian McCaffrey, and somebody was just rudely yelling Heisman in the back of one of his post game, press availabilities. So like keep him out of San Francisco. I don't want to see that, even though it would be a really good fit for him. And I want to keep him out of like these bottom dwellers. Like don't curse him with going to the Cleveland Browns. Don't curse him going to Jacksonville or New Orleans or anything.
They would love him there though, and that would be an opportunity for him to get a little bit more, I guess, just meal on his plate, get some more carries. But I thought Fran brought up a good point with how much he had been used at ASU and a little bit of worry. I do think that starting off his career in a crowded running back room wouldn't be the worst thing for him, as long as he still gets a chance to make those plays. And I think when you give him a season of proving that, he'll earn more percentage of those carries. And then once you go into the next couple of years, I feel running back 1 is always going to be a high bar for somebody taken that late. But I do think that if all goes right for him, he works on his body and he finds the right situation with the right offensive mind, I don't think there's really a limit to what he could do. But I understand why some people would be a little hesitant. I'm just not. After watching him play week in, week out, we had him on the show. We've talked to him. We've seen the work. We've talked to his coaches. There are no red flags for me. There are understandable concerns when it comes to draft time, but I would be thrilled if I was any fan base and Cam Skattebo ended up on my team.
Yeah, I mean, all 32 would be open and welcoming with open arms for a guy like Cam Skattebo. Where do you think is the best landing spot for Scat? Drop in the comments. And if you think it needs to be the Arizona Cardinals, you think I'm an idiot for just kind of saying, hey, yeah, I'll take him in the round 4, and you want to use a higher pick, tell us that too. Great insight from Ruby. Great insight from Fran. Drop a like. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube.